So I've always found this interesting. We say God transcends time and space. No beginning, no end, outside of human emotions, beyond biology, beyond ego. Then we turn around and say, I'm looking for a God-fearing man or a God-fearing woman. Fear of what exactly though? Because fear by definition is a biological response to threat. A lion, a gun, a bill that's due tomorrow and your bank account is having trust issues, right? Because at the end of the day, fear is your nervous system saying something can hurt me. So let me ask a simple question. If God exists beyond time, space, and human limitation, why are we reacting like he's pacing around with a clipboard, waiting to catch us sleeping? That is not transcendence, that's surveillance. And to me, that's where the confusion starts. Because to my understanding, when people say fear God, they don't mean existential awe. They mean punishment anxiety. They mean don't mess up, don't think too hard, don't question, don't step out of line. To me, that's not spiritual maturity, that's conditioning. Now, let's slow it down a little bit. There is a healthy version of fear, but it's not terror. To my understanding, healthy fear is closer to respect. Because at the end of the day, you do not fear electricity because it is evil. You fear it because it is powerful. You don't fear the ocean because it is angry. You fear it because it is vast and indifferent. You don't negotiate with gravity, you align with it. To me, that's the only version of fear of God that makes sense. For a being that transcends everything, it's not fear of punishment, but fear of misalignment. Because if there's a higher order, a moral structure, a reality larger than ego, then ignoring it doesn't make you brave, it makes you careless. To me, that's the fear. Not the fear of God will hurt me, but I might live falsely, right? Not God is watching, but my actions have weight. That kind of fear doesn't shrink you. It grounds you. Now, the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he says he's looking to get married, to settle down, but he's praying for an everlasting marriage. He wants a God-fearing woman. I asked him, what kind of fear are you looking for? And he said prayerful, virtues. All those are not fear. Those are just behavior characteristics. And he couldn't really explain it. All he just knows is fear. But now for a minute now, let's talk about dating profile for a second, right? Because when someone says they want a God-fearing partner, what are they actually saying? Because most of the time it's not theology, it's shorthand. I think what they mean is have boundaries, don't be reckless, don't be a predator, don't move like consequence don't exist. At the end of the day, if you look at it, you will see that they are not asking for fear, they're asking for restraint. Because here's where it gets messy. Some people confuse fear for morality. They think if you're not afraid, you will do anything, which tells you more about them than about God, right? Because if fear is the only thing stopping you from being terrible, the issue isn't belief, it's character. Because if you look at it objectively, fear-based morality is unstable. All you do is remove the threat and the behavior collapses. That's why dogma leans on fear. It's efficient, it scales, it doesn't require inner development. Because at the end of the day, a transcendent God doesn't need intimidation tactics. That's human invention. I mean, think about it. A being outside time does not rush. A being outside space doesn't chase. A being without ego doesn't need compliance theater. So when fear shows up, ask, is this reverence or is this a narrative control? Because at the end of the day, reverence makes you responsible. Dogma makes you obedient. One builds integrity, the other builds anxiety. So what should we fear? Not God as a threat, but the consequence of living without truth, without alignment, without accountability. I say fear the erosion of conscience. Fear the arrogance that says nothing matters. Fear the kind of person who needs fear to behave. To me, that's the only fear that makes sense. If you have a different concept of it, do share. I'm trying to learn different perspective on this subject, right? Because anything else is just inherited tension. So when someone says they want a God-fearing partner, maybe the better translation is, I want someone who understands that life has weight, choices echo, and not everything is a joke. That is not fear. That is awareness. Anyway, that's just something I was thinking about. Do with it what you will. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget, like and subscribe.